Good evening and welcome to this heart-to-heart conversation in honor of Women's History Month. Today, the Healthy Heart Nation team will be joined by some of our ambassadors from the various areas that we represent. Healthy Heart Nation is here to limit the disparities in the African American community. And so our key focuses are in the areas of justice, health, business, and education. And so for that, I have asked some of my sisters to join me today for this conversation. We have Devonna Roseberry, who is joining us, who is a representative and chairperson for our legal team. We also have Dr. Anissa LeCount, who is a member of the health team, Angela Davis, who is a member of our education team, and Sue McCormick, who is a member of our business team. Welcome, ladies, to the conversation today.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey. Okay. So we've got some questions that we wanted to talk about, and just in highlighting Women's History Month and the importance that women play in everything that we do, and how we just are there to support each other as well as the men and the children in our community. So before we get started, we'll start with you, Devonna. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the passion that you have for women and the Black community?
Sure. My name is Devonna Roseberry. I am the Justice Chair for Healthy Heart Nation. I am a wife, a mother, and a proud grandmother of one. I'm also an attorney specializing in the areas of child welfare law, family law, and estate planning, as well as adoptions. My passion for Black women in our community, first of all, stems from the fact that I am one. I am a Black woman. Growing up, I had great role models, strong Black women that I looked to and that I saw day in and day out. That just kind of, well, I guess I've always had an interest in Black history. Let me say that first, since I was very young. And so when I was old enough to start writing reports and they would give us assignments in school, I would always gravitate towards writing about women, and particularly Black women, whenever I had the opportunity. And so Black women to me are just strong, we're fierce, we are able to multitask, able to hold it together. And I'm just passionate about uplifting our community.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Devonna. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move to Dr. Anissa LeCount. And the question is the same. Tell us about yourself and the passion that you have for women and the Black community.
So my name is Anissa LeCount, and I am a family medicine physician. I enjoy people, which is why I went into family. I like to connect. I like to talk to the little babies. I like to talk to the men. I didn't just want to talk to women. I want to talk to everybody. And my youngest patient at this point is probably 2 weeks, and my oldest patient is like 103.
Wow.
So, I have a wide range of people that I take care of on a daily basis. But the reason why I think I like family medicine, because it's really connected to community. I grew up with my parents being very connected to community, doing a lot of volunteer work. We were always out in the fields passing something out, whether it was food or, clothes or something like that. So what I do really speaks to what I grew up with, and just what I feel is my true north. I'm also involved in academic medicine. I'm the family medicine clerkship director for the Kaiser School of Medicine. And, it's an awesome responsibility, but an awesome place to be able to help mold the minds, and not even mold. It's more like support people and pull them up and help them understand that they can get there, and understanding the business of people. How do you communicate? How do you be there? How do you have bedside manner? How do you glean information? How do you help people trust you? There's so much disparity between different people of color and the help that they get. I feel like been given a great opportunity to help bridge that. And
Right.
so, with a lot of words, that's a little bit about what I do.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, Sue, you're up next. So tell us about yourself.
Well, hello, I'm Sue McCormick, and I am a wife, mother, daughter, sister, cousin, sister girl before everything else. But I've spent my entire career in the hotel industry. So I have kind of grown up in that industry, and it has served me well. Now that my children are adults and I'm focusing a bit more on me, I'm learning new passions and hobbies. So that's really exciting. And when we talk about my passion for women and the Black community, I think that passion is inherent. As Anissa said, my parents were also very civic minded.
Right.
So I grew up in a predominantly, well, really an all Black suburb of Dayton, Ohio. So I grew up in a place where our local grocer was Black. The nursery school I went to was owned by a Black couple. Our doctors were Black people. And my neighbors were everything from, a technician at General Motors to an attorney. So I just I grew up seeing that.
Yeah.
So I learned from a very young age to seek out and support Black businesses, to help to mentor and help along in any way I can, whether it's women, Black people, minorities in general. So I think that's where my passion stems from.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sue. And so, Angie, you're up next. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the passion that you have for women in the Black community.
Okay. Hello, I am Angela Davis. I currently work as an assistant principal in a large, very diverse elementary school in Nashville, Tennessee. This is my 26th year in education, my
What?
29th year.
You're only 29. How is that possible?
Close to retirement. My 29th year working with children. So my reach in the Black community, I guess, starts at our youngest ones we love. I work to empower children,
Right.
and a lot of those are young girls. And I like to pour into them and encourage them, serve as a model. My motto at work is the encourager, the motivator. I know where most of my students live. I know every street of my school zone.
Wow.
And I empower my teachers that if something needs to be done, we make it happen. Everybody we know lives within a mile of our school. So if something needs to be done, we go to the home. And so that's my reach for my community. I have always wanted to be a teacher, and I have never regretted it. I look around at some of my friends who are doing well financially because of their jobs, and I still feel proud of what I do because I love what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like to think that I lay a foundation for what happens to students, specifically girls, as they grow older.
Yeah. And that impact is very important, right? So you can't, I still remember like my first grade teacher, the woman who taught me how to read, and, her encouragement and how much that meant to me, the fact that she was like, you can read, you can do this. And so the impact that a teacher has, a good teacher, right? A passionate teacher, a compassionate teacher has on students. I think we probably could all remember like our favorite teacher. In fact, who was your favorite teacher in school?
Oh, actually, I had two. So my favorite teacher was Miss Shepherd.
Okay.
She was a teacher. I went to a church school, and she invited the whole class to spend the night at her house.
Oh my goodness.
And my classroom was Raggedy Ann and Andy themed.
You remember?
It's my first teacher that I really love. My second is my aunt,
Okay.
Mary Guy Carter.
Yes.
She was my 5th grade teacher. And so that's who I have patterned my career after, because she went on to become a principal. And then later in life, she started a pre-K program at the school where I attended. And she is probably my number 2 role model after my mother. And so she's that teacher that everybody remembers.
Yeah.
She did things that no other teacher would do. Like we went camping when you were in 5th grade or a classroom. Nobody else was doing that.
Right.
And she could take you down. If we were at a picnic, she could take a boy down if she needed to. And no one was doing that. And that's who I kind of patterned my career after.
Yeah. So actually that goes into our next question with regard to, who were your role models growing up? So Devonna, we'll go with you to start that one.
Sure. First I have to say that Miss Shepherd was one of my favorite teachers also. Hands down. She may have been my absolute favorite teacher.
Okay.
I love Miss Shepherd. And I never had Miss Carter because we moved before that. But I would have to say, obviously, growing up, it's my mom. My mom was and is my role model. She is, the glue that holds the family together. She taught me about family. She taught me about the importance of family. She taught me, she wanted to make sure that our family structure was different from hers. She didn't have some of the things that she wanted to instill in us growing up. And so because of that, my siblings and I are very, very close. Our extended family, aunts and uncles and cousins, my mom really instilled that in me. She's also the one that made it happen. Whatever it was and whatever it was that needed to be done, she made it done. She got it done. It was just like no telling her no. Like it's gonna happen. What do you mean she can't get in school this semester? No, she's getting in school this semester.
Devonna, going to class, right? Let's go to class.
It'll be worked out. Whatever it was, whatever we needed, mom was the one. My dad was sick for many years, and I just remember, how she held things together. How she made sure that he was comfortable. How she made sure that we knew to, take it easy on and make sure, help her out with things in the house so that he could be comfortable. So it's definitely has to be my mom. Yeah, I learned how to be a good wife, a good mom from her. She was the one in school. She was the parent who was always in the classroom for different school programs. And so, I always wanted to just kind of pattern my life after that. So it was very important to me when I became an attorney. When I finished law school, I actually had all 4 of my children. And, a lot of people were telling me, you're going to go work for a big firm. And I could have done that and made a lot more money. But because of the example that my mother taught me, because I know how good it felt for me to have her present, I wanted to make sure that I could be present for my children. And so I chose to, go out on my own and do things differently.
Right. Very good. Very good. And I agree with everything that you said because she's my mom too. So Dr. LeCount, how about you?
I'm gonna jump on the mom bandwagon. I think, there are people who were very inspirational, aunts, grandmothers, but, my mom taught me how to be kind, even in situations that didn't warrant kindness.
Right.
She taught me how she was super supportive. My mom was one of the smartest people I ever knew growing up. I could come home and say, Mom, I don't know how to do this algebra and calculus. My mother would sit down and do it with me. So I had my own personal tutor. I had my own personal cheerleader, so supportive, so hardworking, but would be the quietest person in the room. She had so much strength, but people would underestimate her. But that was her secret. That was the secret sauce. And so I really learned that I didn't have to be the loudest person in the room to get things done. I didn't have to be argumentative and or pushy to accomplish the things I needed to accomplish. And you could be silent in the background and be the one that's actually running everything, because that was actually going on most of the time. So the lessons that she taught me, and having three girls, you know, and me being the oldest of the three, I think were really invaluable in what I take with me when I walk into rooms, when I meet people. So I have to be with Devonna. It's my mother. And she was just really inspirational because we all went to college, but my mother got her degree was working her degree while I was at Oakwood, and just pursued it until she got a terminal degree. And so, you know, I always knew she was smart. I said, Mom, I always knew you were smart. You were smart person in the room. To say anything. But, you know, she lived her dream and supported us so we could do the things we wanted to do. But I'm just thrilled that she took it upon herself to complete it for herself. So yeah, I'm on that mom bandwagon with Devonna.
For sure. Okay, Sue, you're next.
Well, the mother saga continues, because, you know, it would have to be my mother, you know, because I saw her in action every day, right? And I learned lessons from her, and she was just an amazing, dynamic woman. And, you know, I was naturally very sensitive as a child. And she is the one who taught me how to advocate for myself.
Okay.
So, you know, when I'd come in the house crying because somebody was mad at me or wasn't being nice to me, she was the one to remind me, nobody loved you like I do.
Right.
You know, she just taught me some really great lessons that made me a stronger person, a stronger woman. And yeah, no one can top her.
Absolutely. And Angie, we'll swing back around to you for the question about, you know, the most inspiring person to you in your life.
Well, like everyone else, mine is my mother.
Okay.
The biggest compliment I can receive is that you're just like your mother. I hear that often from people that know us. And that is a great compliment, because my mother I call her the Black Martha Stewart. She's a hostess. And I didn't really understand her greatness until I was in my early 20s. I had a father who was kind of loud at times, very funny, very charismatic, and would command the attention of lots of people in the room. And so he was the mouth of our family. And so I was probably a young mother when I realized that my father, in a lot of respects, was just noise. And everything that happened to make our family great was because of my mother. So I come from a working class family, and all of us went to private school, Christian. We were educated at Christian schools, and that is not cheap.
Nope.
And my mother made it happen.
Right.
And all of our success, I attribute to my mother, but she allowed my father to lead.
Yes.
And he led even when she was pushing him around in a wheelchair. When he was in his early 80s before he passed, he was still the leader.
Right.
But she was the silent leader of our family. And so, you know, she's my best friend. We talk multiple times a day, and I want to be just like her.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And for sure, like, my role model would definitely be my mom, and she taught us so much. But if you think about it, the lessons that they taught all of us were not like the kind that you would expect that you would get. Like, okay, we're going to have a session. Like, you learn by observing, you learn by seeing, you learn by doing. And, you know, what they also just showed us is that inner strength that they had, we too have inherited that. And so, I do feel that, like, as Black women, we have the benefit of that from our family, from our ancestry, like, right, like just the fact that we are still here and that our people have overcome so many things throughout history, and we stand there in grace, and we stand there still in love, and we stand there still to support the world, right? Like, we put the world on our shoulders and make sure that things happen. So, we are very blessed to be able to have had that for our mothers, but now we have daughters, and for you, Angie, a granddaughter, right? And so, you're able to model that for them, as well as the general people that we meet throughout our days and throughout. So I know a lot about each of you guys, and I know that you all are very strong mentors to other women that aren't in your family, whether that be through examples. What do you guys think is the most important thing about being a mentor to other young women? And just jump in.
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is just simply showing interest and showing that you care. In my profession, sometimes I'm at a hotel and I'll pull someone aside, and it could be just I look at them and feel like they're going through something, or it could be, just a one-on-one I decided to have. And it's interesting that when I do that, it can only be 10 or 15 minutes, but that person, and it's usually a young woman, is so appreciative of that time.
Right.
And so just be giving someone the attention and giving them the opportunity to connect with you on whatever level they want to connect on can make such a huge impact.
Absolutely. People want to be seen, right?
Yes.
Like, you remember, like, the people when you're growing up, and they didn't have to say a lot, but the ones that just saw you, like at church, and, say, oh, that's a pretty dress, or, what are you thinking, or how was your week? Like, the people who didn't have to express an interest in you and did, those kind of things definitely, pour into your spirit, and you learn that and you give it back. So Anissa, how about you?
I think allowing some of the young women that I mentor to be their authentic selves, because with all that's going on now, you're like, is my hair right? Is the color? Is there's so much to compare each other to, and there's going to be imperfections, but accepting your imperfections and accepting your quirkiness, because it makes you, and just being okay with that. I think as women, we grow up with so many insecurities, even though we're poured into we live in the world, right? So the world is throwing all this stuff at us, helping them to be able to just accept who they are, help them walk that journey of learning who they are, and accepting that they can be their authentic self, which is something that, as a I don't even like to say, as an older woman now, I got to say as an older woman now, when I'm mentoring some of my younger friends, acquaintances, that's something in a journey that I take, because I was poured into. So I feel like as a mentor, it's my responsibility to pour that into, whether it be female or male, whoever I'm mentoring, that if you are your authentic self and you believe in yourself, then you can accomplish anything you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Devonna?
Well, certainly what Sue and Anissa have both said. I would also just add following through, keeping your word with your mentees. If you tell them you're going to do something, just following through and doing that. Because that first of all shows them that you do care, shows them that they do have value, that you're willing to, you're going to keep your word, you're going to be there for them, or you're going to email them whatever piece of information you said you would share. I think that's, really very important, especially if, you're talking about someone who's in a vulnerable state. Which, are just kind of the young ladies that I become involved with in the court system. So following through, keeping your word, whether it's just returning a phone call, I think means so much.
Yes. And how about you, Angie?
Well, at my job, we have about 50 or so teachers and maybe 30 support staff. And I like to say that I know something about everyone at my job, something intimately. I can tell them their husband's name. I can tell them if they like dogs or cats. I can tell them about their family. And I think that's really important because someone mentioned earlier that people want to be seen.
Yes.
And I want people to know that I see you and I know you intimately. And so the people I work with will tell you that I'm a good listener.
Yes.
And so oftentimes they will come to me for advice or how should they approach situations. And I like to think that I give them good counsel, and I tell them all the time, though, I don't share secrets. So when you tell me something, it's going to stay with me.
Yes.
But I think that goes a long way because when the time comes to have those tough conversations, as we often do in the workplace, it's so much easier. And so when I'm working with teachers, I tell them that when they're working with parents, it's the same thing. You have to get to know them on a relationship level. So when I have to call a parent, I'll say, I need your help with something. You know, when their child has been acting up and they're in trouble, I need your help with something.
Right.
And because I know them and I can tell you what car they drive and, you know, I know everything about my families, it goes over so much better. And, you know, just again, as an educator, we are the hub of our community.
Absolutely.
And our reach is far. So I try to empower others to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, like, you know, just growing up, and besides my mom being a role model, I was lucky enough in my first job to work for a woman named Mary Ann Mitchell. And she was the president of the company I work for, CC Ops. And she's no longer with us, but she taught me everything. You know, like she taught me the lessons I didn't want to learn. You know, she would pull me to the side, little girl, you know, like that little attitude's not going to work. You know, like you need to get yourself together. You know, you can't take on everybody else's issues and problems. You need to focus on your own. In terms of running her business, she never hid anything from us. It was just completely transparent in terms of what it takes to get there and the work that goes into it. And so, you know, I do feel that we all have a responsibility to share what we've learned and to be able to pull people to the side in love and say, hey, this is not how you do that. This is how you should do these things. Or, you know, have you thought about this? Or have you read about this? Have you learned these different things to be better in your job and how you are in terms of, you know, as a person? So I do believe that it is all of our responsibilities to make sure that we can do that for someone. And if not just someone, a whole lot of people. And it sounds like all of you all are having that impact on the people that you support. So my next question is, oh, go ahead.
Something real quick, Angie. I just want to give kudos to you because after this pandemic and all these kids were home and we were looking at them like, get your work done, but they didn't want to hear it from us because it wasn't you. My hat is off to you.
Oh, absolutely.
That was very sobering for America. The type of work that you do and you pour into our young people every day. So I just want to take my hand. I could not let the time go by without giving honor to what you do and how far reaching your influence is, because even with my own children, I remember my daughter was in the 4th grade. I had to talk to the teacher and say, can you tell her to clean her room, please? Because she tells me everything you tell her, she does. But can you tell her to clean her room? And that has been our ongoing joke between us. She's in the 8th grade now and she's graduating, but every time I see that teacher, she said, did she clean her room? I said, no. I need you to tell her one more again. And so I just wanted to take the time and honor you because what you do is so far reaching, and I don't think you hear it enough. So I'm sorry to interrupt that.
No,
please. This is a conversation. So
right. and continue to show love to teachers because many of our industries have adjusted to this pandemic, but education is one where we're still operating as if it's business as usual.
Right.
And we're still in the midst of a pandemic.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
we still need your continued love and support.
Absolutely.
And you're probably still trying to bring kids up to speed from the
Yeah.
from being at home with the parents who unlike Nisi's mother, could not help them with their homework.
Yeah, but we're all at the same place. So, we say sometimes that kids are behind, but we're all behind because we all had a shutdown. So we're all at the same pace.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. So the next question is, if you could go back in time and ask any historical woman anything, what would that be and why? So who wants to go first with that one?
That was hard for me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Damon.
I'm going to go first. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk to little Ruby Bridges.
Mm.
Little Ruby Bridges. I had 2 questions for Ruby.
Okay.
The first question I want to know, was it Ruby's decision to desegregate the school? Like, did Ruby say, Mommy and Daddy, I want to desegregate the schools? I just want to know, like, who made that decision for little Ruby Bridges?
Mm-hmm.
I also want to ask little Ruby, what she have in that little briefcase she was carrying? Just walking down the school steps, she had a little briefcase.
Right.
What was in that briefcase? I just want to know.
She needed to have some rocks in there, a rock or two.
Maybe she has some rocks in there. I don't know. I want to know what's in that briefcase.
Just in case.
That's
funny. Want to know. Yeah. So that's who I want to talk to. A lot of people I want to talk to, but I thought about Ruby Bridges today.
Okay, fantastic. Who's next?
Well, I want to talk to a lot of people too, and it was hard for me to narrow it down, but the one that keeps coming to mind is Rosa Parks.
Okay.
Because I've always just wondered, what was she thinking when she got on the bus that day?
Right.
You know, and what goes through your mind when you're being defiant for a cause, right? So you just decide, no, not today. What kind of strength it takes. And, there had to be some fear. How did you push through that?
Yes.
Yes, I do have a lot of questions for Rosa. Miss Rosa.
Was she having a bad day when she got on the bus? Yeah, I hear you.
Like, was it discussed before, and you said, today's the day this is going to go down?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
My feet hurt.
Right.
No. So I would love to know this real story about that and how she was feeling as it all went down.
All right. Okay. Angie, you want to go next?
I'm not sure. I thought about historical figures, and I can't think of anyone specifically, but I'm always amazed how people stand up through adverse situations. Like she just said, Rosa Parks and Ruby Bridges. I'm thinking about Ruby Bridges' parents.
Yes.
I don't know if I could send my child to school under those circumstances, even if I knew that it would mean something at some point. I don't think as parents they knew how big of a deal it was, but to just look at those pictures and to see parents sending their child in that situation. I'm amazed at people who can stand through those situations, because I don't know if I could.
Yes.
I don't know if I could do that.
Right.
So when people go through adversity publicly, to in ways that could have real detriment, like death. I would like to people who have done those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Anissa?
This was one of the I can't land on a person. I was looking through this. I was looking through that's a history. Let me think. When I go back to all the history, I'm looking at the women, just the women as a whole, when their husbands were taken away and we were brought over. How did they get through that? I have a lot of questions for them. How did you do that? How did you
Right.
see your child ripped from you? How did
Yes.
you do that? When I look at maybe the civil rights movement and the young teenagers who were walking through the streets because they thought things were injustice, like what gave them the strength to what gave them the strength to do that? When I think about Coretta Scott King, and here her husband is prominent and her kids she's constantly being in the public eye, and so many, we didn't even have Instagram then, but everybody had an opinion about how she should be and what she should do and how she should stand. And so when I look back at historical women, I couldn't just land on one. I was really kind of looking generationally, and just like Angie said, could I have done those things? Here I stand in this generation saying, oh yeah, I'm influencing and I'm strong and I'm supporting, but what would I really be if I was put in those adverse situations that we discussed? I have a lot of respect because I know that, I stand on the shoulders of what they've done. And so with that comes great responsibility. So I really didn't answer your question, but I kind of.
Yeah, you did. No, you definitely answered the question. For me, it would be Shirley Chisholm. And so, in terms of like the time period when she, had the audacity of hope, essentially, right? To say that I am going to run to be president of the United States, right? Like a Black woman, and to be able to, to deal with that. First of all, if you look in politics, there's still not a large majority of Black women represented at all, right? But for her to stand up there and to give her speech and to say, I am qualified, I am capable, I am deserving to be the woman that runs this entire, nation, and believe it, So for me, she was definitely a role model, because I know that, I know a lot of you guys very well and intimately. And so, as women, we're always doubting ourselves. We're always second guessing our skills and our abilities and our, the way we look or the way we represent ourselves. And so, for us, my mom kind of always taught us, get out there, put your head up, go and do it, regardless of how you feel, right? You have to get away from the feelings. And get to what the purpose is and all of those things. And so, I would have to think that in all of those instances and the people that you guys mentioned, it was bigger than themselves. So, as we're looking to accomplish something as Healthy Heart Nation, as well as just, in our own spaces, how do you all push through the insecurities that you may have when you're facing new challenges or just your day-to-day? I'll go with you, Sue.
There's a saying, it's a quote that and I think I'm going to mess it up, but it's along the lines of, in order to do something you've never done, you have to become someone you've never been. And so during times where I have to step outside of my comfort zone, or I'm feeling like, I'm having some imposter syndrome,
right?
Or I'm feeling like, should I really be in the room with these people? I have to remind myself, a lot of times I hear my mother's voice, like, yes, you are. But I also remember that quote, like, this is a new version of you. So step into it.
Right.
Step up and, let's get this done. So I think it's just remembering that sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader. A lot of times you have to be your own cheerleader and coach yourself through those times.
Okay. Devonna, do you want to go next?
Sure. Of course. No, for me, I think it's, I guess I draw on my faith in situations like that. I pray for things. Then you'll pray for things, and then when God opens doors for you to walk through, for me at least, sometimes I'm like, whoa, like, wait a minute, not today though, and then I have to just remind myself that this is what you've been praying for. This is what you wanted, and now you're being blessed with this opportunity. And so I draw on my faith, and also my mom, who always told me that, you are unique, you're special, and what's yours is yours. And so, basically just get out there and do it. Like, don't let anybody make you feel less than. And that goes for me, letting myself down and shrinking myself. So that's it for me. Just mostly drawing on my faith.
Okay, Angie?
Like Sue said, I do a lot of self-talk. There's a quote, I'm not saying it right, but it's about say it even when your voice shakes.
Yes.
I think about that. Somebody at my school has it in their room, and I was like, that is a really good thing to remember, because you have to draw from somewhere. So yes, my faith. For me, I also work with a strong leader. The principal at my school is a woman, and she's strong, and we're great partners. And oftentimes I can lean on her to for advice, or just model after how she does things. And she probably the same for me. We have a great partnership. And so I can say that I also use the people around me.
Okay.
Yeah.
To help.
Okay, Anissa?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I think it's my village. It's my village. When I'm doubting myself, like, ooh, can I do that? And then people are like, yes, you could do that. And I'm saying, I don't think I could do that. And they're like, yes, you could do that. And then I'm like, okay, I think I could do that. So I think it has to do with those people you let in. And there's some people who will just tell you what you don't want to hear when you need to hear it. Tell you to be quiet. Tell you just like your mama's, go out there and try it. So I think it really has to do with family, peers. Just my village is what gives me the strength to be able to do it. And it's history and what you've been able to accomplish with the help and the tools of your village. And the advice that you've been given. So I think both of those things really help me to move forward in areas that are pretty uncomfortable at times. So yeah, and I think I've gotten, not all the way, but I've gotten a little bit more used to being uncomfortable. And so I think if you know that feeling, that it doesn't feel so isolating, and you're able to kind of work through it and move through it. But it's a learned skill. I'm working on that skill still.
Yeah, well, it's something that you build over time, right? So like the butterflies or the fear of trying something new, like a lot of times the fear is what keeps you from doing something. But I think it was Will Smith who once said that, like, your greatest opportunity is on the other side of your fears. And so, when you're able to just push through that uncomfortable feeling and the doubt and the self-hate and the self-doubt and the people around you, that are telling you what you can't do. It, like, the more that you do those things and you accomplish something, the more you can do more things and accomplish even more things. And so, it's just really important, I think, for people they think that you're perfect and you already have all the answers, but no, you don't have the answers, but you still push through to to get there, to the solutions. And so, I think that is something that history has taught us.
Yeah, Lala, I want to say also, I think we have to remind ourselves that we will not always be comfortable.
Yes.
Because sometimes we're used to things being warm and fuzzy, and when they're not, it's traumatic. So for me personally, after working 3 years in daycare, 16 years as an elementary school teacher. My first year as an assistant principal was the first time in my career where people were unhappy with me.
Wow.
And so that's 19 years of me working, and it was tough because I was used to being Miss Davis. I'm Miss Davis.
Right.
But people, a whole building of people, I went into a school where people were very established and there was very little turnover, and this was their space.
Right.
And I'm this young Black girl coming into their space, and they didn't trust me. And it was very challenging for me.
Right.
Very challenging.
So what kept you from giving up? What made you not give up?
Well, I had to learn how to move between, I won't say giving in because that's not the right word, becoming accustomed to their environment,
okay,
while pushing for things that I know to be right as a leader.
Okay.
And so there was a balance that I had to do. So
that sounds like adaptability and timing.
Yes.
Okay.
So they had to know me and trust me. And I realized that, hey, they're not just going to listen to you because you're the leader.
Right.
We're going to listen
you had to earn it.
Because they earned it. So first I let them know that I'm still a teacher. I'm always a teacher.
Right.
And then there were some times that I said, hey, okay, I'm going to be the boss too.
Yes.
But I still knew how to navigate that without making enemies of people.
So you didn't have to stop being a people pleaser. You just had to deliver it differently.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think when you're transitioning and from something into something, you have to learn how to do that. And there's a dance, there's a science behind that. And I guess people pleasing is something that will cause you to be unsuccessful if you don't know how to navigate it correctly.
Right.
So
absolutely. Do anyone else want to share when they had to push past something that was uncomfortable?
Well, I think I just wanted to add that I also share some of that information with my daughter and my son, because I want them to learn from the times that I'm struggling too.
Right.
I want them to see that, sometimes as mothers, we can make things look easy. Like, things were easy for us all the time.
Right.
And so sometimes when it's appropriate, I will share with my children when I am struggling with something or there's something I'm nervous about.
Yeah.
It could be a situation at work that I'll talk through with them. And then I'll give them an update on the other side of things, just so that they know that everything isn't easy all the time. And, they can sometimes think back on, what, my mother was in a similar situation and, this is what she did. So let me try it. I think it's important to share that too with your children.
And go ahead. Well, that makes me think about something. Like I'm just trying to think if I could really kind of remember a lot of times growing up where my mother showed vulnerability. There were very few times about that. And so, we do kind of pick up some things. And so, like, for instance, when our father passed away, like I didn't let anybody see me cry, like I didn't want to make them feel bad and I didn't want them to see me cry. And I wanted to project this strength and then I had it all together or whatever the case would be. And so, my kids, mentioned to me now, and it's been, more than 10 years, it's been almost 13, but, they're like, well, Mom, we never see you cry. And so in trying to protect that vulnerability, have we done them a disservice?
Right.
And just being real and saying, yes, we hurt. Yes, we experience pain. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I can piggyback off of that, just in the same situation. It was years later where one of my sons said, we were talking about a time when he wasn't doing especially well in school, my oldest son. And he mentioned to me that it was the time right after my dad passed.
Okay.
And he said, you didn't realize because, you were you were going through whatever you were going through. But like you, I tried to not let them see me cry. I did that in the garage, wherever, then you come in the
late
house.
at night. Right.
What does everyone want for dinner, or whatever. But, and so I had to, in talking to him, basically what he was saying is that he needed me to be there for him, but I wasn't. I was too busy trying to be stoic, in that time. But since that time, like Sue said, I do share things with them. If I have a particularly difficult day in court or whatever the situation, I will share that with them, and then I will update them, or I'll share that with them and let them know how I was feeling in the moment. And then when I've worked it through, the blessing that I found in it, or, how I was able to turn it around and look at it in a different way, because it is extremely important to teach that to our children. Number one, they don't ever, like you said, with mom, I don't ever remember. I honestly, I can't think of maybe 2 times.
Right.
But, I don't ever want my kids to think that, I'm perfect. I have it all together. I don't go through things, because there's so many lessons to be learned from, the hard times or the tough times, so many lessons to be learned, even if they don't turn out the way we want to, even if it's not a particularly great story on the other side.
Right. Yeah. That's that transparency. So we only have a few more minutes. So before we close out, the question that I'd like to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Angie, is what is the best advice that you would offer to your younger self?
If I would offer advice to my younger self, it would be about time and the importance of time. So for me, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I put off some decision making that I should have done in my 20s and 30s. For example, as a single mother, I didn't see myself able to invest money in my 401k like I should have.
Right.
And I always thought I'll get to a point in my life where I'd be comfortable to do that. And I didn't see, I couldn't see the future. As a single parent, I lived for the day,
right?
Because that's the way my life was at that moment. And so if I could go back and do it again, I would be much further along.
Okay.
Because I made decisions, something just as simple as whether or not you get a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage. You just simple things like that. That time passes so quickly, and you will be so much further ahead if you think that the time is coming quicker than you think the time is coming. Absolutely. So I guess my advice would be about time.
Yeah. Okay.
And being responsible sooner.
Okay. Devonna?
If I were giving advice to my younger self, I would tell myself that that everything that I think that I need is already in me. It's already there. It's just there to grow and to bloom and to blossom. And it's going to be okay. Just take what's there, and be a good steward of what you have inside you. And it'll take you where you want to go.
Absolutely. Okay. Anissa?
One of the things I think I tell my younger self is that, when you have this career path and you see yourself at a certain place at a certain age, then everything is very regimented. But I think I would have told myself to go somewhere and learn a different language and stay there for a year. That's the first thing.
Okay.
I think it really expands you. You become a citizen of the world. And so that's one of the things I would have told myself. And very much like Devonna, I think I would have told myself, look, girl, it's okay. Just walk through that door and do that, because you can do that. And I think I was hearing that, but it's more the belief, right? Believing in yourself that you can do that. So I think I would tell myself, hey, little girl, it's okay. It's going to be just fine. And then I would tell myself, go over there and go to a different country and learn a different language and spend some time with people, be uncomfortable and have to learn how to be more independent outside of the country that was where I was born. So those would be the two advice I would give myself.
All right. And Sue?
Oh, somebody's mad.
It's Foxy.
She wasn't worried about the dog.
Other than telling myself a couple of times, girl, don't date him.
That one. Not that one.
Woo, no. I would really just tell myself to, I tell myself a lot of things, but mostly I would tell myself to just be more patient with me. And, just love yourself and believe in yourself, more. So I think if I could go back, that's what I would tell little Sue Ann.
Little Sue.
Little Sue.
Little Sue Ann.
So I would tell myself all the stuff that y'all said. I would tell myself all of that, but also just don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Just don't be afraid to fail.
Yes.
And spend less time fearing the failure and more time visualizing the successes.
Yes.
Just really embracing how it could be. And so, just things worked out really well for me in a lot of ways. But I feel like, and I'm always pacing myself. I'm always holding something back for what I don't know. But, stop pacing myself, let it all out there and leave it all on the court, in terms of anything that I'm pursuing, to make sure that I'm giving it my all every time. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, ladies, I think we are coming to the end of our discussion. We've got about 3 minutes left. So, if you guys have any additional information you want to share during National Women's Month, then, feel free to do so. If not, anybody have anything? No.
I do.
Okay.
I want our viewers to do, it's been a pandemic. We've been out of commission for 2 years. I want everybody to do their health maintenance. I want, if you have not seen your physician, I want you to see your physician. In National Women's Month, I think we put ourselves on the back burners because we're caregivers and we are mothers, and things come to me late because we don't pay attention. So if there's any message I would want to leave, it would be to take care of yourself. Absolutely. Get your mammogram, go get your blood work, go get, do those things so you can continue to be the support system that you are to everyone in your life, in your spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Devonna?
No, I was just going to say that's really important. That's something that I'm doing. I think that I know for me, the pandemic just kind of pushed back a bunch of appointments, that I should have attended. So that's very important.
Yeah.
And
all
self-care as well. Not just your doctor's appointments, but self-care.
All right. Well, we thank you for joining this conversation. This is our heart-to-heart discussions. We will be joining you guys every third Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this following month for April. Since the third Friday is Good Friday, we will be doing April 8th, and we will be talking about autism in the Black community. So please stand by, please share, please follow, please like, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We are really looking to make an impact on the community, and we feel the best way for us to do that is through conversations and through sharing and through taking the lessons that have benefited us in our lives and making it available to share with others. There's a whole push on TV and reality TV shows, and that's not reality. The reality is that there are people out there just like all of these women you see on the screen who who are working to do better for themselves, for their families, and for their community. And people need to see more of it. So that is one of the things that Healthy Heart Nation is working to do. And we're going to do it through these conversations monthly. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my wonderful, beautiful sister guests that I love and have a very special place in my heart for each of you guys. And so I do appreciate you being on and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.